Hey, what's going on? It's me, Sean. So this week's video is really about dreams. I have so many videos now about dreams, but this is a dream that I had last night. So this is very current. Um, so in the dream, I was a painter, an artistic painter, and I was living with my agents and managers. It was a bunch of them, and they were permitting me to work with my craft. In other words, I really wasn't working. I didn't have a second job or anything like that. And so they were promoting me and letting me live and work in their apartment. And again, I was working with my craft. I was painting. So subsequently, very soon within the dream, I had my first showing. It was very, very successful. The showing was, um, and it was so successful. I want to tell you that I was able to buy the apartment from my agents and managers, and also buy a car, BMW car, which is really my favorite car. So it was that successful. And I looked around the apartment and that I had bought, and it was paint everywhere. It was beautiful, vibrant colors of blue and reds and yellows, and it was a white walls, but I had painted everything, and you could see the brush strokes on the walls and on the floor. And I don't really remember the ceiling, but really primarily the walls and the floor had paint all over it, and it was very beautiful. And um, but it was more about my craft. It was more about, yeah, I was able to get my apartment. I was able to get and it was a very, very expensive apartment, an exclusive building here in New York, an exclusive neighborhood. I know the neighborhood, but I'm not going to tell you what it was, where it was. But it was very, very rich neighborhood, and also, the BMW car. But those things really didn't matter to me. It was more about my craft. I was able to work with something that I loved, my craft, and it was a craft that I was able to grow, and it was, oh gosh, what is the word I want to use? Um, oh, I can't think of it right now, but it evolved. My work was able to evolve, my craft was able to evolve, and I was so happy in that dream. I was so happy in that state. And I continued to work, and then I had a second showing, and it was very, very successful also. So successful now that I was able to buy some furniture, and I could see the furniture in the apartment, and I was so happy. But I wasn't happy primarily about the furniture and the things that I had. It was more about the things that I was loving to do, which was my craft. I really am an artist at heart. I studied music. Um, and I was singing jazz for a while, for a couple of years there, and having shows and going into the studio and composing neoclassical music. But I wasn't into painting at all. But in the dream, I was a painter. So let's go back to the dream. So I had the second dream. It was I had the second showing. It was very successful. Again, it was in my heart. It was my craft. It was something that I loved. It was. Uh, Something that came with me when I was born, this particular craft. And I was so fortunate, so happy that people liked what I was able to express and they were buying it. But it wasn't, I'm forcing this issue because it wasn't the money, it wasn't what I was able to buy. It was that I had a craft that God gave me, and I was working with that craft. I was uh, how do you say? Oh, I'm so excited about this dream that I had last night, but it was something that evolved and grow, and I constantly was able to work with that particular craft. I also want to tell you, at the second showing, after that second showing, and I had um, was to a second level, I looked up around my apartment, and I had gotten this furniture, uh, and it was a very strange apartment because it grew. So it was one size when I was living with the agents and the managers, and then when I had that first showing, it grew a little bit more. The apartment did, and then for the second showing, it popped again, so I could see a new room to the apartment. So the apartment was growing also. And I looked up into the window, and I had these beige curtains. And the curtain, a little bit, the shade rather, was down from the roller a little bit. And I could see. Um, outside, so I could see this beautiful sky. The sky was this beautiful dark blue and royal blue, and it was about, I don't know, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and the air was crisp, so it was approximately about April or so, early April, and this is what I got from the dream. And I remember the sun was projecting through the window, and it was just beautiful. And I stood there and I stared at this window with this beautiful view of this blue sky, and everything was great, and I could feel in my chest, in my heart, in my soul, this creativeness that I had. And then I went on and I had a third showing, and that was very, very successful. And I was so happy because I was able to continue to work with my craft and evolve my craft, and the craft was growing, and that's the one thing that made me happy was the craft. Not all the things that I was able to buy because of the showings, but that I was creative, that I worked with my craft. I was a creative person. And I remember in the dream, I was walking down the street and people were pulling at me for me to become their friend and me to work with them and to hire me uh, with my artistic abilities, my paintings. And again, that didn't mean that much to me. It was more about I was able to work with my craft. I was an artistic person, and for me, artists, whether you're musicians or painters or sculptors or wood crafters, this is all art to me, and I think it's wonderful if you could take a creative part of yourself and project it. So like I said, in this third showing that I had was very successful. And again, the apartment popped, and far off I could see a new room that had materialized, and that room was bathed in sunlight. And I couldn't see the contour of the room, but I could see that it was a new room that was added onto this apartment. This kept popping and growing. And then uh, I want to say that in the this last part of the showing, I could also see this window had gotten a little bit bigger. The shade had a little bit more of an opening to the window, and I could see even more of that blue sky that I mentioned before, and it was so beautiful. And the royal blueness of it, and the morning sky, and the sunlight that was showing through was really wonderful to me. And I was a very, very happy guy to be working with my creative part of myself, which was 100% because I was living on my craft. Um, and it was such a beautiful dream, and I wanted to share that with you. And that was really the end of the dream, and I woke up so happy that I wanted to go back to sleep and continue it. Um, so if you are into carpentry, if you're a carpenter like Jesus was, or if you're a painter, or if you're a musician, singer, dancer, composer, uh, instrumentalist, any type of person, and you have this creativeness, and we all have it. Sometimes we have to put it aside to raise our children and do other things that we need to do. But if you sew or crochet or knit or anything like that, or anything that's creative and makes you happy, go ahead and do it. You know, if you've always wanted to take a speaking course, go out and take a class. If you wanted to go back to school or to college, go ahead and do that. If you've never gotten your high school diploma, go out and do that. Go back to school, whatever level you're in. There's always an opportunity to continue in your education. So this video really is about creativeness and working with your craft. And that's, again, a gift that God has given all of us. Sometimes, again, we have to ignore it for whatever reasons. But if there's ever an opportunity and you're never too old to learn, go out and do what you want to do. If you don't know how to, say, for instance, take musical composition, take a course. Like here in New York, a lot of the schools that we have here, Mannes School of Music and the Juilliard School of Music, which I matriculated at. I didn't go to the conservatory. I took extension courses, but I learned music. I learned notation. I was studying actually notations before I went to Juilliard. And my mom said that I should go and continue that. And firstly, I started singing jazz and performing here in the city at nightclubs and supper clubs and stuff like that. And then I went to when I went to a trip to Marseille, France. I did a little show. But it's all about being creativeness. That's the one thing about humans that we all have. We all have this creative part of ourselves. So if you do anything that's creative, go ahead and do it. Propagate yourself, evolve yourself, and do your craft. It's a wonderful feeling to have inside, in your chest, in your heart, in your soul, that you're doing something that makes you truly, truly happy. And that's today's video. I thank you so much for your time and patience, and have a blessed day.